The planet Orvion was a place of wild storms, heavy forests, and creatures that could crush metal with their jaws. It was one of the most dangerous worlds ever explored by the Galactic Union. Only the bravest and strongest dared to land on its surface. The Varnak species were among them. The Varnak were known for their hard armor skin and tall bodies. They valued strength more than wisdom, and courage more than patience. Every mission for them was a test of power. Among the research team stationed on Orvion was a young biologist named Mira. She had bright silver eyes and a curious mind, but like all Varnak, she believed physical power defined worth. When her commander told her that a human would join their mission, she frowned. She had met humans before in interplanetary stations and found them weak and fragile. They were shorter, lighter, and lacked natural armor. They looked soft and breakable. In her opinion, humans were clever but not suited for dangerous worlds. The mission was important. They were to study the new wildlife around the southern forests of Orvion, where strange energy readings had been detected. The creatures there were larger and faster than anything recorded before. Mira had prepared samples, drones, and scanning tools, expecting to spend weeks collecting data. That morning, the sound of a small transport ship echoed across the base landing field. Mira stood with her team as the human vessel landed beside the heavy Varnak carrier. The door opened and out stepped a man wearing a simple gray exploration suit. He carried a small backpack, a data pad, and a calm smile. Mira whispered to her partner, "This is the human scientist we were promised." The man approached with confident but quiet steps. "Hello, I'm Adam. I'll be assisting your team with environmental mapping and predator tracking." Mira raised a brow. "You came alone?" He nodded. "Yes, my equipment is compact. It's all I need." Her partner gave a low chuckle. "That small bag will not save you when an apex predator finds your scent." Adam only smiled again. "Then I'll make sure it doesn't find me." The Varnak soldiers laughed. Mira crossed her arms, unimpressed. She thought he was either overconfident or foolish. The human looked calm, but to her, calmness was weakness. On Orvion, only fear kept you alive. As the sun rose, the team prepared for departure. Massive crawler vehicles rolled toward the southern wild zones. Mira checked her scanners while Adam adjusted his wrist device. She noticed his hands were steady and his movement smooth. Unlike the Varnak, who were loud and impatient, Adam worked in silence. During the ride, Mira tried to test him. "Human," she said. "Our sensors pick up energy surges every few hours. Some think the predators feed on it. What do you think?" He looked up from his datapad. "I think energy attracts life. If we find the source, we'll understand why the ecosystem is changing." "You sound very sure." "Observation brings surety," he said with a calm tone. His words were simple, but something about them made her pause. He spoke like someone who had seen danger before and learned from it. When the crawler reached the edge of the southern forest, the team disembarked. The trees were massive, their roots rising like walls. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Strange glowing insects flew between the branches. Mira activated her helmet light and scanned the area. "We camp here tonight," she said. The soldiers set up shields and turrets. Adam walked a short distance away, examining the soil and marking coordinates. Mira followed him, curious but pretending not to be. "Do humans always work alone like this?" she asked. He crouched to take a soil sample. "Not always, but I like to understand my surroundings before I depend on anyone else." "On Orvion, your surroundings will try to kill you," she said coldly. He stood up and smiled faintly. "Then it's a good place to learn fast." Mira shook her head. She did not know if he was brave or simply unaware of the danger. As night fell, the forest grew darker than space. The base lights cast long shadows. The Varnak soldiers took turns keeping watch. Strange growls echoed from deep within the jungle. Mira sat near the campfire, checking her scanner. Adam was sitting near the edge of the camp, writing notes in his data pad. He had refused extra armor, saying it slowed his reflexes. Mira could not stop herself from watching him. The human seemed relaxed, as if the wilderness did not scare him at all. He was small compared to the armored Varnak, but something about his stillness felt powerful. When the temperature dropped suddenly, Adam got up and started assembling a small device from his backpack. Within minutes, a soft field of heat spread across the camp. Mira blinked in surprise. The device was tiny, yet the warmth reached everyone. "How did you do that?" she asked. He pointed to the core. "It's a micro-heat generator. I designed it for survival training on frozen worlds. Her commander approached, impressed. Your little human tool works better than our field units. Adam nodded. Simple designs last longer. For the first time, Mira felt unsure about her earlier judgment. The night passed without attack. The next morning, they ventured deeper into the forest. Massive footprints appeared on the wet soil. The prints were deep, wide, and freshly made. The soldiers raised their rifles. Mira scanned them and frowned. Something large is nearby, she warned. The energy readings are high. Adam knelt to examine the tracks. The stride is uneven. It's hunting. Hunting us? One of the soldiers asked. Not yet, Adam said, but soon. His calm tone sent a chill through the group. By midday, they reached a river of black water. The scanners went wild with interference. Mira told the team to set up a temporary post to take readings. Adam volunteered to cross the river to place a sensor on the opposite bank. Mira stopped him. That water is not safe. The current hides electric predators. He looked at the surface, then at her. I'll be careful, she frowned. You say that too often, he smiled slightly. Because it works. Before she could argue, he stepped into the water. The ripples glowed blue under his boots. He moved slowly, testing every step. The soldiers watched, ready to shoot at any movement. Halfway across, a dark shape moved below him. Mira shouted a warning. A massive eel-like creature burst from the water, its mouth wide and filled with metal-sharp teeth. It lunged at Adam. He spun aside, drawing a small blade from his belt. In one swift move, he slashed across the creature's eye. The water exploded in light and sound. The beast screamed and vanished into the deep. Adam reached the other side, placed the sensor, and returned without a word. The Varnak soldiers stared in shock. You faced it with a knife, one muttered. It was only curious, Adam said, shaking water from his gloves. Mira looked at him closely. There was no fear in his eyes, only focus. It made her feel something she had not felt before. Respect mixed with confusion. As the team continued forward, they found remains of broken bones scattered around large burrows. Mira recorded the data while Adam studied the structure. These predators don't kill for food, he said. They kill for territory. How do you know? Mira asked. He pointed at the patterns. No feeding marks. Only crushing blows. Something stronger is forcing them out. She felt a chill. Something stronger than an apex predator. Maybe, he said quietly. Or something smarter. By evening, the team found an open area to set up a new camp. The soldiers built defensive walls while Adam climbed a nearby ridge to scan the horizon. Mira joined him. The view was wide, showing dark forests stretching endlessly under red clouds. Why do humans take such risks? She asked. You could have stayed safe in orbit. Adam looked at the horizon. Because safety teaches nothing. Growth happens where fear lives. His words stayed in her mind. When night came again, strange howls echoed across the valley. The soldiers tensed, gripping their rifles. Mira looked at Adam, who stood still listening. It's coming closer, he said calmly. Mira felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. The sound grew deeper, like thunder mixed with breathing. Her commander ordered everyone to form defense lines. Adam turned his wrist device on and projected a map. If it enters from the east, we have 2 minutes. Mira's heart pounded. How can you tell? He pointed to the vibration readings. The rhythm matches the predator's stride. It's hunting in a pattern. She stared at him in disbelief. You learned this from walking through the forest? He nodded once. Observation brings survival. Before she could say more, a roar tore through the forest. Trees cracked. The apex predator had found them. The soldiers opened fire, but the creature was still hidden among the shadows. Mira felt fear rise inside her, but when she looked at Adam, he was steady as stone. He gripped his small energy blade and took a slow breath. That was the moment she realized. He was not afraid to face it. The human she had thought weak was ready to stand against what even Varnak soldiers feared. And deep inside, Mira felt the first spark of doubt about everything she had ever believed about human weakness. The roar echoed through the forest like thunder. Every Varnak soldier raised a weapon, forming a half circle around the camp. The apex predator's growl came closer, shaking the air. Trees bent under its weight. The ground trembled. Mira gripped her scanner tightly, trying to locate the creature through the thick mist. Stay close to the barriers, her commander ordered. If it breaks through, fire everything you have. The soldiers activated the energy shields. The glowing blue walls surrounded the camp in a protective ring. Mira's scanner showed a large moving shape approaching fast. It was bigger than any living thing she had ever studied. Adam stood beside her, calm and focused. He looked at his wrist device, watching the movement pattern. "It's not hunting randomly," he said quietly. "It's circling the camp, testing the perimeter." Mira turned to him sharply. "You can read its behavior from this?" He nodded. "Most predators test before attacking. They look for weakness in their prey or in its defenses." The commander overheard and frowned. "Then we show it no weakness." But Adam's eyes stayed on the shadows between the trees. His voice remained steady. "If it realizes we are ready, it may leave. But if it smells fear, it will attack." The words made Mira's heart pound. She looked around at the soldiers. Some were strong, but their hands trembled slightly. The apex predator's breath sounded like wind through iron pipes. Suddenly, a branch snapped, and the massive head of the beast appeared from behind a tree. Its skin was dark gray, covered in bone plates. Its eyes glowed yellow, and its mouth opened wide, showing rows of sharp metallic teeth. It let out a roar that shook the shields. The soldiers fired plasma bolts. Bright flashes lit the forest. The creature screamed and smashed its claw against the shield. The impact sent waves through the energy wall. Sparks flew everywhere. "Keep firing," the commander shouted. "Do not let it through." But the creature was too strong. It slammed again and again until one section of the shield cracked. The blue light flickered and died. "Shield down on the west side," Mira shouted. The predator saw the gap and charged. Its legs hit the ground like hammer strikes. The Varnak soldiers aimed at its head, but it moved fast for its size. The commander tried to retreat, but the creature swept him aside with one strike of its tail. The sound of armor crushing echoed across the field. Mira froze for a second, her body refusing to move. Fear crawled up her spine. She saw the beast's glowing eyes turning toward her. Its breath was hot, its growl deep and hateful. She thought she was about to die. Then she heard Adam's voice. "Get behind the crawler." He moved without hesitation, running straight toward the broken section of the shield. Mira shouted for him to stop, but he was already gone. The human jumped onto a supply crate and climbed a support beam. From his belt, he pulled out 2 small metal spheres. He pressed a switch and threw them near the predator's feet. The spheres exploded with a loud flash, creating a burst of white light and smoke. The beast roared in anger and swung blindly. Adam landed behind it and activated his energy blade. The small weapon glowed blue. He slashed at one of the beast's rear legs. The blade cut deep, spilling thick blue blood onto the ground. The predator turned fast, trying to crush him with its claws. Adam rolled aside and slashed again at its joint. His movements were quick and sharp. Mira could not believe what she was seeing. The human was fighting the most dangerous creature on the planet, and he was not running away. The soldiers tried to cover him with fire, but he shouted, "Hold your shots. You'll hit me." Mira watched every move. Adam climbed onto a rock, waited for the predator to strike, then jumped forward, landing on its back. He grabbed a ridge of bone and held tight as the monster thrashed wildly. He drove his blade between 2 plates of armor. Sparks flew as he twisted it deeper. The beast screamed and spun, crashing into trees, trying to shake him off. Adam kept his grip and used his free hand to plant another small device on its neck. The device blinked red. Mira realized it was an explosive charge. She shouted for everyone to fall back. Adam jumped off just as the charge exploded, ripping through the creature's shoulder. The predator stumbled, roaring in pain. The explosion didn't kill it, but it slowed it down. The soldiers fired again, focusing on the open wound. Plasma bolts burned through flesh and bone. The apex predator fell to one knee, shaking the ground. Adam ran back to the crawler, his chest rising with heavy breaths. "Now," he said, "hit the eyes." The Varnak snipers aimed and fired. The creature's head jerked back as the shots hit both eyes. Its roar faded into a low growl. With one last movement, it collapsed onto the ground, shaking the trees around it. For a long moment, no one spoke. Only the sound of the wind filled the air. Then Mira exhaled, her whole body trembling. "It's dead." Adam looked at the fallen beast. "Not dead, dying. It will stop moving soon." She turned to him with wide eyes. "You fought that thing with only a small blade. You are mad," he gave a tired smile. Sometimes madness is another word for courage. The soldiers surrounded the fallen creature, keeping their weapons ready until it went completely still. Mira walked closer, studying its body. The size of it made her shiver. The creature was easily twice the height of a Varnak. Its claws were sharp enough to slice through metal. Yet a single human had wounded it badly enough to end the fight. She looked at Adam again. His armor was scratched and there was a cut on his arm, but he stood upright and calm. The commander, though injured, gave him a nod of deep respect. You saved the team, human. The Varnak owe you. Adam shook his head. No, you fought too. We all survived together. Mira found herself staring at him longer than she meant to. He looked ordinary, yet his actions were far from ordinary. He had no fear, no hesitation, only determination. After securing the area, the team began to repair the shield walls. Adam helped without being asked. He worked quickly, setting up new supports and checking power lines. The Varnak soldiers watched him with silent admiration. When the shield was restored, Mira approached him. Why did you run toward the creature instead of away from it? He wiped his hands. Running only gives it more time to choose who to kill. I prefer to end the choice. That is not logic, she said softly. That is instinct. He looked at her. Maybe both. As the night went on, they examined the predator's body. Mira took samples while Adam scanned the damage. She noticed that his cuts on the creature's legs were placed with perfect accuracy. He had attacked the weakest points without wasting energy. How did you know where to strike? She asked. Patterns, he said. Every living thing has a rhythm. You watch it long enough and you see where it breaks. His answer was simple, but it carried weight. She realized he had studied not only the environment, but also how life moved and survived. Later, while the others rested, Mira found Adam sitting near the fire, repairing his blade. The quiet light reflected in his eyes. She sat beside him. You said you trained on other worlds, she said. Are all humans like you? He smiled slightly. No, every human is different. But we all share one thing. We adapt. Adaptation cannot win against something like that, she said, pointing to the predator's body. He looked at it for a moment, maybe not the first time. But give a human time and they learn how to win. She thought about that. Her people believed power was born with the body, but Adam spoke of power that was learned through experience and failure. It was a strange but strong idea. Before dawn, a signal came from the main base. The commander informed them that another predator had been detected nearby, even larger than the last. The energy readings were growing. The team had to move deeper into the wild zone to find the source of these changes. The soldiers were nervous. The first attack had shown how dangerous this planet could be. Mira looked at Adam expecting hesitation, but he was already packing his tools. Are you not tired? She asked. He shrugged. Rest comes later. Curiosity comes first. She shook her head but smiled slightly. You are strange, human, he grinned. So are you. As they prepared to move out, Mira noticed something in his expression. He was not reckless. He was ready. There was a difference she could now see clearly. The sun rose over the horizon, lighting the misty trees in golden color. The forest looked peaceful again, but everyone knew it hid danger in every shadow. Adam took the lead this time, his eyes scanning the trail ahead. The Varnak followed him without question. Even their commander stepped back and let the human decide the path. Mira walked beside him, her scanner in hand. After some time, she said quietly, when I first saw you, I thought humans were weak. He looked at her but said nothing. She continued. Now I see that weakness and strength are not what I thought they were. He gave her a short nod. Strength is not about size or armor. It's about what you do when fear comes. His words stayed in her mind long after they left the camp behind. As the forest grew thicker, the strange energy readings increased. The team soon entered a darker area where even light seemed to bend. Strange sounds echoed through the mist. The trees were covered in glowing veins and the air felt heavy. Mira's scanner flashed red. The energy here is unstable. It is not natural. Adam looked around carefully. Then we are close to something important. He knelt and touched the ground. The soil was warm. Something below was alive. He stood up slowly and said, "Stay ready. The forest is watching us." The forest had become silent. Even the insects had stopped making noise. The air was thick and heavy. Every step echoed too loud, as if the trees were listening. Mira could feel danger pressing in from all sides. Adam walked in front, scanning the area with his small handheld device. The screen showed movement all around them, but nothing visible to the eye. The soldiers behind him kept their rifles ready, eyes wide, trying to find the source of the motion. We are surrounded, Mira said quietly. Adam nodded. They are waiting. Watching, the commander whispered. Then why do they not attack? Adam stopped walking. Because something else is controlling them. The words made everyone go still. Mira looked around nervously. What do you mean controlling? Adam turned slowly. Predators this size do not move together unless something stronger forces them to. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A deep rumble rolled through the forest floor. The soldiers pointed their weapons in every direction. From the shadows came glowing eyes, many of them. Smaller beasts, lean and fast, appeared from behind the trees. They had sharp tails and claws like blades. Form a line, the commander ordered. Keep distance. Do not let them flank us. The creatures hissed and circled closer. Mira stayed near Adam. She could see calm in his face. He was watching the movement carefully, like someone solving a puzzle. They are driving us toward something, he said. What something? Mira asked. Before he could answer, a massive roar tore through the forest. The smaller predators scattered aside as if obeying a command. The trees bent backward, and from behind them came the largest creature they had ever seen. It was the apex predator, bigger than the one they fought before. Its hide was darker, its claws longer, and its eyes glowed red. Its roar made the air vibrate. The smaller beasts bowed their heads and retreated behind it. Mira could barely breathe. The commander shouted, "Open fire." The soldiers unleashed a storm of plasma bolts. The bright blue shots hit the creature's armor, leaving burns but not deep wounds. The beast roared again and charged. It crushed a fallen tree as if it were paper. Adam shouted, "Scatter! Do not stay close together." Mira ran behind a rock formation as the creature's tail smashed through the ground where she had stood. Dust filled the air. The soldiers tried to hold their line, but the beast was too fast. One swipe of its claw sent 2 Varnak flying into the trees. Adam darted between the roots, his movements precise. He wasn't trying to fight it head-on yet. He was studying it, learning how it moved. Mira watched him from cover, unable to understand how he stayed calm while everyone else panicked. He ducked under a branch, avoided the beast's tail, and looked up at its neck plates. He shouted to the soldiers, "Aim for the joints under the head. The armor is thinner there." They obeyed and adjusted their aim. The next round of shots hit closer to the weak point, causing the predator to roar louder in pain. But instead of backing away, it grew angrier. It slammed its claws into the ground, sending a shockwave that threw several soldiers off balance. Mira's scanner beeped rapidly, energy rising fast. It's releasing charge through the ground. "Everyone move." The team jumped away as sparks erupted from the soil. One soldier was too slow and fell screaming as his armor overloaded. Mira wanted to help, but the commander pulled her back. "Stay behind cover." "You are not a soldier," he said firmly. Adam, however, was already moving again. He climbed onto a fallen log and pulled something from his belt, a device that looked like a small beacon. He threw it near the creature's feet. It landed with a sharp beep, then burst open with a cloud of burning smoke. The beast roared and swung its tail through the fog. Adam used the distraction to run toward it. Mira shouted, "Adam, stop!" "You will die," he didn't answer. He ran up the creature's foreleg, grabbing the rough scales as footholds. The apex predator twisted and tried to shake him off, but he moved like he had done it 100 times before. He reached the upper part of its shoulder and stabbed his energy blade deep between the plates. Blue light burst out as the blade cut through nerves. The creature screamed and thrashed, smashing trees around it. Adam held on tight, gritting his teeth. He pushed the blade deeper, twisting it until sparks exploded from the wound. The soldiers saw the opening and fired again at the same spot. The plasma bolts hit the wound and burned through. The creature staggered and fell to one knee. Mira could hardly believe what she was seeing. The human was on top of the most powerful predator on the planet, cutting through its armor as if it were metal. The beast slammed its shoulder against a tree, throwing Adam off balance. He fell but rolled as he hit the ground. Before the predator could crush him, he threw another small device, a shock charge. It hit the beast's chest and exploded in a flash of blue lightning. The predator screamed and stumbled backward. Adam ran toward the team, shouting, "Hit it now! All of you." The commander raised his rifle and yelled, "Fire! Every weapon unleashed at once." Plasma bolts filled the air. The apex predator took a step back, then another. Finally, it fell with a massive crash that sent waves of dust across the field. The sound of its fall echoed for several seconds before everything went silent again. Mira stood frozen. Her heart was pounding. The huge creature lay motionless on the ground, its eyes dimming. The smaller predators fled into the forest. She slowly approached the fallen beast, stepping over cracked roots and broken branches. The size of its head was larger than a transport vehicle. She placed her hand on its cooling skin. "It's over," she said softly. Adam walked up beside her. His suit was torn, his face smeared with dust and blood, but his eyes were steady. He looked at the fallen creature and said, "For now." Mira turned to him. "How did you do that? No human strength should match this. Even our strongest fighters would not last that long." Adam cleaned his blade and said calmly, "Humans learned long ago that fear is part of survival. We don't remove it. We use it." She frowned slightly. "Use fear?" He nodded. "Fear makes the mind sharp. It keeps us awake. It tells us what must be done. The mistake is thinking fear makes you weak." Mira thought about those words for a long moment. Her people always believed fear was shameful, but this human spoke of it as a guide. It was an idea completely opposite of everything she had been taught. The commander came forward and clapped Adam on the shoulder. "You saved us again, human. Your kind is stranger than I thought." Adam smiled faintly. "Maybe strange is what the galaxy needs." The soldiers laughed softly, but Mira remained silent. She could not take her eyes off the predator's body. The power it had shown moments ago was terrifying, yet Adam had faced it alone and won. Later that evening, the team set up a temporary camp beside the fallen creature. They had to rest and repair their gear before moving deeper. The sky above turned red as the planet's twin suns began to set. The forest shimmered with dim light, and the wind carried the faint scent of ozone. Mira sat near the campfire, writing notes in her scanner log. She listed every detail she could remember about the battle: the speed of the predator, the weak points, the way Adam had used his tools. But no matter how much she wrote, she could not fully describe what she had seen. Adam sat across from her, quietly fixing his damaged blade. He used a small toolkit, moving with patience and precision. The firelight reflected in his eyes. Finally, she spoke. "You did not hesitate even when it charged. How do you control yourself in that moment?" He looked up. "I don't control fear. I accept it. Once you stop fighting it, it stops controlling you." Mira nodded slowly. "My people are taught to reject fear, to crush it." He smiled slightly. "And how often does that work?" She did not answer. He returned to his work. "Fear is a teacher. Every creature that survives learns from it." His words made her think of the forest, the predators, and even the Varnak soldiers who had died because they refused to retreat. Maybe fear was not weakness after all. Maybe understanding it was the first step to true strength. When night came, everyone rested in silence. The only sound was the low hum of the shield generator. Mira stayed awake for a while, watching Adam as he sat by the fire, staring into the distance. There was something in his eyes, something old, like he had seen many worlds fall and rise again. She realized that humans were not fragile. They were shaped by struggle. They had faced storms, wars, and monsters across their history. Every scar had made them stronger. Before she closed her eyes, she whispered to herself, "I was wrong about humans." Adam looked up briefly but said nothing. He knew she was beginning to understand. The next morning, the team buried their fallen soldiers beside the forest edge. The commander placed a mark of honor for each one. Adam helped dig the graves, working quietly and respectfully. When the last grave was filled, Mira spoke softly. "We should return to base." Adam shook his head. "The energy reading is still rising. Something bigger is coming. If we leave now, it will spread." She looked at him with concern. "You think there is another apex predator?" He looked toward the deeper part of the forest where the mist was thicker. "Not just one. Maybe something that creates them." The commander frowned. "Then we find it and end this." The soldiers reloaded their rifles. Adam tightened his gear. Mira checked her scanner, which blinked with stronger signals. The path ahead glowed faintly in the map projection. As they prepared to march, Mira took one last look at the fallen predator. "It's enormous." The morning after the battle was quiet. The forest around the cave was filled with mist, and the air was heavy with the smell of smoke and blood. The apex predator's body lay half buried in the dirt outside, motionless and torn. Its massive frame looked smaller now, not because it had changed, but because the fear it once created had been destroyed. Mira stood near the cave's mouth, staring at the lifeless monster. She could not understand how one human, armed with so little, had taken down such a terrifying creature. She had seen many warriors in her life, many soldiers of her kind, but none had done what Adam had done in a few minutes. The Varnak soldiers were busy repairing their gear and patching wounds. Some whispered about the fight, replaying the scene over and over. Every time they spoke of Adam, their tone carried respect and a bit of disbelief. Adam sat near the fire, his left arm bandaged and his shirt torn, but he looked calm. He had cleaned his blade and placed it on the ground beside him. His eyes were focused on the small fire that flickered in front of him. He said nothing. Mira walked closer and stopped beside him. For a long time she said nothing either. She looked at his injuries, then at his calm face. "You should rest," she finally said in a soft voice. "I will," he replied. His voice was quiet but steady. "The others need rest more than me." She frowned. "You fought that thing alone. You should be lying down." Adam smiled slightly. "I've been through worse." That answer made Mira's mind spin. Worse than that beast? She had seen the creature crush armored Varnak soldiers with one strike, yet Adam fought it as if it were only another challenge. She sat down beside him, watching the firelight dance across his face. "I did not think humans could fight like that," she admitted. "I was wrong." Adam glanced at her. "You thought I was weak." Mira looked down. "Yes, I thought humans were small and fragile. On my world, strength is shown by size and armor. You have neither." He nodded slowly, as if he had heard such things before. "Most people think that," he said. "But humans are different. We do not have claws, scales, or speed. We survive because we adapt. We learn how to fight in every way possible. When nature tries to break us, we find a way to fight back." His words carried a weight that Mira could feel. There was no pride in his voice, only truth. She could see that he did not fight for glory or for showing power. He fought to survive and to protect others. "What was that creature to you?" she asked. "You fought it like it was personal." Adam's eyes grew distant for a moment. "It reminded me of something," he said. "Back home on Earth there were predators too. Not like this one, but still dangerous. Sometimes we had to face them to protect our people. You learn not to panic when something tries to kill you. You just think, move, and survive." Mira listened carefully. His calm way of speaking made her curious about how humans lived. "Your home sounds dangerous." "It is," he said. "But that danger made us strong. Humans are born weak, yes, but every challenge, every fight, every pain changes us. We grow through struggle. That is what we are." She nodded slowly, understanding now what she had seen in his eyes during the fight. It was not rage or hate. It was focus. A human strength came from inside, from something that could not be measured in muscle or armor. Outside the cave, the Varnak soldiers began collecting samples from the dead beast. They took pieces of its armor plates and recorded data with their scanners. One soldier approached Adam and saluted him, a rare gesture of respect among their kind. "You saved all of us," the soldier said. "We will not forget." Adam nodded but said nothing more. He was not proud, only tired. Mira noticed that and realized humans did not seek praise the same way Varnak did. They valued survival and teamwork more than status. As the day passed, the group prepared to move back to the base. The forest was still dangerous, but they felt safer now. Adam walked in front, scanning the path and setting traps in case other creatures approached. Mira followed close behind, watching him with new eyes. Once she had thought his small frame meant weakness. Now she saw balance and precision in every step. He walked like someone who understood danger deeply. When night came, they set up camp near a river. The team sat around a fire while Adam checked the sensors. Mira brought him water and sat beside him again. "Do all humans fight like you?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not all, but we all have it inside us. The will to fight when it matters. Some show it through strength, some through courage, some through ideas. It's what keeps us alive." Mira thought for a moment. "I think I finally understand what makes your kind special. It is not your body, it is your heart." Adam smiled slightly. "Maybe. Or maybe it is our stubbornness." They both laughed softly. It was the first time Mira had seen him laugh. It felt strange but warm. Later that night, while others slept, Mira stayed awake, thinking about everything she had seen. The stars above were bright and cold, shining over the endless forest. She looked at Adam sleeping near the fire, his face calm despite all that had happened. She realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. The next morning, they reached the main base. The other scientists and commanders came out to greet them, shocked to see the remains of the apex predator. The Varnak leader reported what happened, explaining how Adam had killed the creature alone. Many did not believe it at first until they saw the cuts on the beast's body. Clean, sharp, and human-made. Mira gave her own report to the Science Council. She spoke of Adam's bravery, his tactics, and his strange calmness in battle. But more than that, she described his will, the kind of strength that came from the spirit, not the body. The council listened in silence. Some seemed impressed, others unsure. Varnak society had always judged worth by size and armor. The idea that a fragile-looking human could outmatch one of their greatest predators was hard for them to accept. But facts were facts, and Mira's report was clear. After the meeting, Mira found Adam outside, sitting near the landing pads. He was repairing a broken drone, his hands steady and quick. They didn't believe everything, she said. He smiled without looking up. They don't have to. Truth doesn't change because someone doubts it, she nodded. Still, I think you changed how they see humans. Adam looked up then, his eyes reflecting the light of the twin suns. Maybe, or maybe this is just the start. He stood and stretched his arms. You know, Mira, strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. That's what humans do best. We build it no matter what stands against us. His words stayed with her. She realized that she would remember this human for the rest of her life. He had shown her that courage was not loud and strength was not always visible. That night, as the base settled into quiet, Mira began writing her research report. She titled it The Strength of Adaptation. In it, she described the human species as a paradox, small but unyielding, fragile but unstoppable. She wrote that humans had an inner fire, a drive that allowed them to face anything. When she finished the report, she added a final line at the bottom. Humans do not wait for strength. They create it. Outside, Adam stood on the landing pad looking at the stars. He was preparing to leave Orvian the next day. Mira joined him there, standing silently by his side. You're leaving, she said quietly. Yes, there are more worlds to explore, more missions waiting. She looked at him and smiled faintly. You have changed what I think of your kind. You have changed what I think of strength. Adam nodded. That's good. Maybe that's what humans are meant to do, change things. They stood there together for a long time, the wind carrying the sound of the forest far below. The galaxy was wide and full of danger. But Mira knew now that wherever humans went, they would survive. Not because they were the biggest or the strongest, but because they refused to fall. When Adam finally boarded his ship, Mira watched as it rose into the sky, leaving a trail of light behind. She whispered to herself, he was never weak. The shuttle's engines hummed softly as Adam's ship rose above the forests of Orvion. Below, the wild zone stretched endlessly, still dark and full of life, but quiet now. The apex predator that had once ruled this region lay dead, its reign ended by a human who had come unprepared, and yet had emerged victorious. Inside the cabin, Adam checked his devices. Every sensor read stable, no predators nearby. He glanced at the map of the forest, noting where the energy readings had been strongest. He marked the coordinates for the Galactic Union. Scientists would study this area, but they would never forget what he had done here. The door to the cockpit opened briefly, and Mira stepped inside. She had insisted on accompanying him to see the report delivered firsthand. Her silver eyes looked calm, but behind them a storm of thoughts swirled. She had thought humans were weak. She had judged them by appearances, but now she knew that strength was more than size or armor. Adam, she said quietly, the others are calling this impossible. They cannot believe a human could defeat that predator alone. He smiled faintly. That is the truth of humans. We surprise people. Mira shook her head. No, you are not just surprising people. You are showing them what humans really are. I understand now. You do not need armor or claws. You have something they cannot measure. Adam looked out the window at the fading forests. It is called willpower, and the will to survive. That is something every human has. Even the smallest, weakest-looking human carries it. Some learn to use it better than others. Mira nodded, thinking of all the soldiers who had doubted him at first. Every movement, every decision he had made during the battle had been precise. There was no panic, no hesitation. He had calculated, adapted, and fought using what he had. That was human strength. The shuttle docked at the main base. The landing bay was crowded with Varnak soldiers, scientists, and other members of the Galactic Union. Many had heard reports of the battle from sensors and distant signals. When they saw Adam step out, calm and unharmed, a hush fell over the crowd. The commander of the Varnak team stepped forward. "You have done what no Varnak could," he said, his voice filled with awe. "You have proven your species is stronger than we believed." Adam inclined his head. "I only did what I had to do. The predators were dangerous. I survived. The rest followed because survival depends on teamwork." Mira stepped forward. "They will study you now. They will record what happened and learn from it. But I think some lessons cannot be taught with words. You showed us with action." A scientist approached and offered a recorder for Adam's report. He gave a brief account of the events, explaining the predator's size, behavior, and the energy readings in the forest. He described the traps, the small devices, and the strategy he had used to bring the apex predator down. When he finished, the scientists and soldiers looked at each other in disbelief. The report confirmed everything they had seen. They could not deny it. A human had faced an apex predator alone and survived. A human had fought with speed, precision, and intelligence to defeat what they had thought invincible. After the formal report, Mira walked beside Adam outside the base. The twin suns of Orvion were setting, painting the sky in bright shades of red and gold. "You know," she said softly, "I will never judge humans the same way again." Adam glanced at her. "You thought we were weak." "Yes," she admitted. "And I was wrong. I see now that your strength comes from something beyond the body. It is courage, will, and adaptability." He smiled faintly. "You are beginning to understand. That is all I need." Mira nodded, watching him as he looked at the horizon. She thought of the forest, the predators, and every risk he had taken. "Humans are different," she said. "Not because you are the strongest, but because you refuse to give up." Adam's eyes reflected the light of the setting suns. "Exactly. We do not wait for strength to be given to us. We create it ourselves. That is what separates humans from others." Over the next few days, the Varnak team documented the predator's remains. Mira worked alongside Adam, learning from his techniques and strategies. She saw how he analyzed each joint, each weak spot, and how he used minimal tools for maximum effect. The soldiers who had doubted him before now asked questions. They wanted to know how humans thought, how humans adapted. Adam answered patiently, showing them diagrams and demonstrating small devices. He explained how humans relied on observation, improvisation, and timing rather than pure force. The soldiers listened closely, realizing that their earlier assumptions had been flawed. By the end of the week, the forest was quiet again. The team had collected all necessary data and prepared to return to their ships. Mira stood beside Adam one last time before he boarded his shuttle. She had learned more in a few days from him than in all her years of study. "You have changed how we see the galaxy," she said quietly. "Not just me, but all of us." Adam looked at her, calm and modest. "I did what humans always do. We survive, we adapt, and we teach others by example. That is all," Mira smiled. "You are a legend now. Your story will spread across colonies. They will remember the human who defeated the apex predator." He gave a short nod. "A legend is not what matters. What matters is that we learn, we survive, and we grow. That is the lesson humans bring." The shuttle's engines powered up. Adam waved briefly before rising into the sky. Mira watched until the ship was a tiny speck against the bright suns. Then she turned toward her team, feeling something she had never felt before: hope. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were survivors. They were fighters who could face impossible odds and win. They could take the smallest chance, the weakest weapon, and turn it into victory. The other species of the galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Mira realized that humans would leave their mark wherever they went. They would not only survive, they would thrive. When she returned to her quarters, she wrote the final notes in her report. She described the battle, the strategy, the devices, and most importantly, the humans' determination. She concluded her notes with words that she knew would stay true for the rest of her life. Humans do not wait for strength. They create it. They do not fear the impossible. They face it and rise. This is what makes them a force no one can ignore. The Varnak Council, once skeptical of humans, would now study the report for generations. Adam's actions were not just a tale of survival. They were a lesson in what it meant to be truly strong. Strength was not measured by size or weapons. It was measured by courage, determination, and the will to act when others faltered. Weeks later, reports from Orvion reached other colonies. The story of the human who defeated the apex predator became known far and wide. Scientists, soldiers, and explorers discussed it in meetings and training sessions. Humans were no longer seen as small, weak, or fragile. They were admired for their adaptability and courage. Mira often thought about Adam. She remembered the calm in his eyes during the battle, the way he had calculated every move, and the focus that never wavered even when facing the deadliest predator she had ever known. She had learned that strength was more than a muscle, more than a shield, and more than armor. It was spirit. It was determination. It was the willingness to face the impossible and not turn away. As Mira walked through the base one evening, she overheard soldiers discussing the legend. Some said humans were fragile but brave. Some said humans had tools and cunning that no other species had. All agreed on one thing: humans were a force to be reckoned with. Mira smiled quietly to herself. She had doubted humans, but now she would defend them with her life. She had seen proof that courage and determination could overcome even the most terrifying threat. Adam's ship had left Orvian, but his presence remained in every mind that had witnessed the battle. The galaxy would remember him not as a single warrior, but as the symbol of human strength. The story of survival and courage spread quickly. Other human explorers arriving on distant worlds were met with admiration. Many species had once dismissed humans as weak or insignificant, but now they saw them differently. Humans were a challenge, a mystery, and a powerful force that could not be ignored. Mira often thought of Adam when she returned to the forests. She walked the paths they had taken together, remembering the roar of the predator, the flash of his blade, and the calm determination that had saved them all. She realized that humans did not just survive, they inspired, and in the quiet moments she whispered to herself, "The human was never weak. He is the beginning of a new understanding. Strength is not just in the body. It is in the will, in the mind, and in the courage to face the impossible." The galaxy had changed because of one human. His story would be told for generations. Adam had shown that humanity was not fragile. Humanity was unstoppable, and somewhere in the stars, Adam continued his journey, ready to face whatever challenge came next, carrying with him the knowledge that human courage and willpower could conquer even the greatest dangers the universe had to offer.